Good Wednesday morning to you guys. This video recorded right after 8 o'clock on January 14th. I wanted to come on and give you more of a long form update about our next weather maker. It's coming in right now from the northwest. This front, it's going to bring us some rain initially and then some snow for some of the higher elevations, followed by very cold air. So just wanted to give you more of a long form update about what you can expect. Here's a look at where we could have some minor impacts. Not going to be widespread, but Walden Ridge, up through parts of the Cumberland Plateau, Cagle Mountain, Altamont, Grutley-Lager, Coal Mine, even Hamilton County, right along Walden Ridge, Sell Creek northbound. We could have some of those issues up through Bledsoe County, I-40 from Cookeville to Crossville. Now, the major to moderate impacts, I think, set up Gatlinburg up through the Smokies. That's where you're going to see a lot of northwest flow snow, and up through northeast Tennessee. But you can see the horseshoe effect there in full swing. We get that warmer air here in parts of the valley, and oftentimes you get snow on both sides in the higher elevations. And of course, elevation and topography have a lot to do with who sees snow in these events and who doesn't. But there are some winter alerts I want to talk to you about. Winter storm warnings for parts of Sevier County, Blount County, and of course Cott County up in Tennessee. The Smokies, the areas that get the big time snows from these events. Also, winter weather advisory in effect until 11 o'clock tomorrow morning for eastern Monroe County. So the higher points of Monroe County, of course, could see some pretty decent snow from this near the Cherahalo Skyway over towards the North Carolina border. So as we take a look at your future cast, again, rain comes in probably after about 1 or 2 o'clock. This starts as a plain old Jane rain event. Continues through the evening, could be heavy at times, so that evening commute's going to be a little bit messy. By about 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock central, cold air starts to work in. And the higher elevations, the plateau, the metro mountains, Signal Mountain, Lookout Mountain, could start to transition to a rain-snow mixture, and then eventually all snow. Same thing happens in the western North Carolina, the North Georgia mountains, and then by 8 or 9 o'clock, just about everyone is going to start to have snowflakes mixing in. A lot of the moisture moves out by that point, but we're still going to have these streamers coming in, some snow showers throughout the night, especially in the higher elevations, but some of those will sneak down into the valley. Excuse me. And of course, overnight, that snow will continue as we get that northwesterly flow along the Tennessee-North Carolina line. Again, that warm air kind of gets pushed up. It cools and condenses. We get clouds forming, and then that northwest flow goes up those higher mountains, peaks, and that's where you can get some pretty good snows. Most of the flurries will taper off by tomorrow afternoon. Here's another look at depiction. This is our in-house model. The last one I showed you was the HRRR. About the same with the timing of the rain. Comes in and then eventually transition to some of those snow showers. And notice how some of those blue blobs get into North Georgia, parts of southeast Tennessee. So again, don't be surprised if you see some flakes here in the valley. Really not expecting any impacts. Could there be an isolated area that maybe gets a quick dusting? Not going to rule it out. However, most of you will not, and you'll just see just a couple of flakes flying. And then by tomorrow morning, again, all of this kind of wraps up. So here's a look at my current thinking. Not a lot has changed from yesterday. Areas along the plateau, so I'm talking, Sequatchie, Bledsoe, parts of Grundy, Marion, and Van Buren counties, a dusting to maybe an inch on the high end. Eastern mountains, and when I say eastern mountains, I'm talking about, eastern Polk, Fannin, Gilmer, Monroe, parts of Cherokee County, a dusting to an inch and a half. Of course, those elevations within those counties over 3,000–4,000 feet could pick up more, because you got to consider, like Polk County, you got Big Frog Mountain, over 4,000 feet in elevation. Then you got Cowpen Mountain in Fannin County, over 4,000 feet in elevation. So those areas could get, excuse me, a little bit more. I'm telling you, scratchy throat today. It's been rough. Valley, again, flurries, isolated dusting in spots. Most of you are not going to have to deal with that. Here's a look at the HRRR. Again, we had light accumulations from northern Sequatchie, Bledsoe, even parts of Ray County, potentially getting a 1/2 of an inch to an inch. And then you got maybe some accumulating snow. Again, you can kind of see right where Cowpen Mountain is there in Fannin County, close to an inch of snow. Same for areas down to the south into North Georgia. But again, the higher amounts are going to certainly set up along the Smokies. So again, those higher peaks could get, up to 6 inches, maybe even more, over 5,000 feet. And you got to consider in these events, the high points are typically the areas that are going to get snow. And here's kind of a look at our county high points. So here, of course, in Hamilton County, look out over 2,100 feet. So that's where the areas will get, in on the snow a little bit sooner. And the higher points, of course, are closer to the Blue Ridge Mountains. We have peaks over 5,000 feet in Cherokee and Monroe County, over 4,000 feet in Gilmer, Fannin, Murray, and Polk County. So, of course, that's the areas where there will be more moisture. It gets colder faster. You get the snow sooner. Same for the plateau. Usually the elevations are anywhere from about 18 to 2,500 feet locally. Of course, Bledsoe has a couple areas over 2,500 feet in elevation. So elevation really makes a big difference in these scenarios. Outside of the snow chances, going to be very cold. You're going to notice it like that this evening. The cold air, temperatures probably drop 10 degrees in an hour, and then the wind chills are going to be brutal tomorrow morning, ranging from about 9 to 13 degrees in the valley, close to 5 in Blue Ridge and Murphy, Cumberland Plateau, Walden Ridge, maybe close to 0. So going to be some serious cold air. All day tomorrow it's going to be blustery, cold, wind chills in the 20s, anywhere from 10 to 15 in the higher elevations throughout the daylight hours. And it's just going to be cold. Look at this. These are your daytime highs. So after 60s and 70s to start January, we're transitioning to 40s and 30s. Overnight lows potentially around 20 several nights this week, even dropping down into the 10s. I'm talking 10, 11, 12 degrees in some of the higher elevations. So this will be the coldest stretch that we've had so far this winter, and maybe that we will have this winter. Of course, you never know with February. It can be kind of funky. It's either warm or cold or a mixture of both. But here's a look at your 7-day forecast. Now we'll focus on this system first. Rain, flurries, or snow showers, then very cold air. Friday, starting to be signs of maybe a little system coming in during the evening and overnight hours into the first part of Saturday. Likely to start as rain, but could transition to a wintry mix. Maybe some light accumulations in some of the higher elevations. Again, this system, overall, this whole pattern has been tough to kind of clock, especially with some of the model guidance being all over the place. What we do know is it's going to be cold. We do know there's going to be a lot of energy flying around. When those energies kind of come together, that's where we get storms to form and maybe some winter weather. But I'm not expecting any high impact winter events, at least at this time. It's just going to be very cold. So brace yourself, because again, 3 out of the next 7 days are going to have highs in the 30s, even here in the valley. So it is going to be a cold stretch. Of course, tomorrow morning could be some slick spots in the higher elevations, so we'll be on from 4:30 to 7 to let you know where any of those are, and we'll keep you updated as some of those flurries fly. So have a good day. We'll see you later, and of course, Hannah will be on at noon.